I have a few more examples. One thing is about the diagonal. So the diagonal has four vital points. If white occupies one of these on each side, then black can't use the diagonal for eyes, which makes these stones very heavy. So we're going to take a look. It's very easy to find these vital points, but I think it can be hard to use them without studying them first. So let's just take a look. So we talk a lot about crosscuts in these classes and how we shouldn't just Atari and Atari. And so let's see why. When we Atari and Atari, one, we've weakened the stone significantly, and white is very powerful. Two, when black makes this diagonal is trying to make two tigers' mouths, right? So there's two diagonals in a sense. When one plays on the vital points, you can see that black can't make eyes. And so it actually takes quite a lot of effort for these diagonals to actually make eyes. Um, so it's important to know where the vital points are for this diagonal. Let's take another really, really good look. This reminds me of when I would play Milan. If you guys are familiar with him, he runs the MGF tournament league. And so me and him have been old school rivals, for like, I don't know, 10 years now. And I remember playing this move against him in one of the games, and he thought this was such a bad move. Now, at the time, I see this all the time in professional games and high level play, but I couldn't really put my finger on why it's so good, right? But now this lecture, reviewing the shapes in the diagonal, shows me why. So let's take a look. So just so you know, this is a very popular move. You'll actually find that I use it often in my games, where if somebody forgets to make a base or just already has a base over here, but you still want to enclose white. Let's take a look. So if white was to use the diagonal, once again, this is something I tell my students all the time, the iron pillar versus the diagonal is very strong. And now I can tell you exactly why, right? It's because black is on the vital points of the diagonal. So white can't make eyes here very comfortably, if at all. So what's going to happen is black's going to push, white pushes out, black's going to push, white doesn't want to get trapped, so pushes out. So now black has this nice thickness, and it's going to poke at the eye shapes, and then it's going to fix its own shape, right? It's going to make the table shape. So now when we look at the aftermath of all this, black has become significantly thicker on both sides, which is potentially going to be good points for black. And white looks silly, right? White has become heavy stones. Heavy stones are stones that don't have good eye potential, nor do they give off a lot of influence. And so these are like, this is kind of like the worst group you can have and go. So this move here makes the diagonal stink. That's what this move does. And so it's a very good shape to learn. And I think it's a high level one because, to be honest, I just don't think even 5 to 1 Qs can answer truly why this is good. Maybe some can. I mean, I'm not going to generalize it, but I will say that a lot of them that I experience think this is a bad move, but it's actually really great. So now we'll look at this move, which is the better move, but black can still get a good result here. This move is still worth playing, even if white knows how to deal with it. So black hits the head of 2 stones. White has to make an empty triangle to come out. And it opens up this cut. So that's why he chooses this empty triangle instead of the 1 jump. Black will poke at the eye shape, and then black will fix its shape because this is become very dangerous. And when white comes out, black pushes over, black solidifies, and white gets out. But now you see, once again, black has made a lot of thickness on this side, almost guaranteed points. And black is starting to make shape and thickness over here. It looks a little flimsier than last time, but it still looks good for me, right? And when I look at this, white's not making any points yet. White doesn't even have any eyes yet. White's out, so you're not going to kill white. But the goal always, when it comes to shape, is to put your opponent in bad shape and put you in good shape. Right now, I see an empty triangle for white, and I see a table shape for black. And so this position is very good for black and kind of poor for white. Still, this is better compared to when white used the diagonal. So that was an example. I thought that was really good. It was a very personal example to me. Finally, we're at the last part here. When we have this position, how should black defend its cutting point, right? We have three options. So first, if we pick A, we know A is the empty triangle. This is very poor shape. White's definitely just going to get ahead, right? So white's fine. B doesn't put pressure on white. It protects this cutting point, but what it also does is it sets up a snapback. So white gets to break. Would be the bamboo joint, right? The shape is the bamboo joint. So white gets to break the bamboo, and then black has to answer, right? Because if he doesn't, then white will kill and connect. If you don't see that, we have a snapback here. And so this would be very poor for black. So black has to once again, make an ugly empty triangle shape. And then white is now ahead. And so this is beautiful for white and very crappy for black. And finally, just as you said, it's starting to make the net or also the mouth shape or also the table shape. This is the table shape. This is a great move because if white was to try and pinch through here, black now protects, and it's not an empty triangle anymore. It's a filled triangle, and this cut is protected, right? And so this shape is very strong. It's also putting severe pressure on white here. So this stone is attacking these white stones, whereas this stone wasn't, nor this one. So this is a dual purpose move, beautiful shape. And a good example of when we use the one jump instead of the diagonal, right? Or instead of a full connection. So white would push on and black moves on. And we see that the cut is still protected. And we see that black is now ahead in the race, whereas the other examples, black was not ahead whatsoever. So that is it. That is a very thorough understanding of the one jump, the diagonal, and looking at some of the other shapes. Hopefully it gives you more perspective on such things as like the large knight move, like this one. Because I do know that a lot of my students, especially in handicap games, when they have stones around, they think it's going to be their territory, but it can be ripped away. The point is that even if these can be broken up, these stones can be split, because they form a connection, we can use this connection to get something good out of it, right? So that's something that we have to learn and keep in mind. And I hope this lecture helped with that.